speak to something that, I don't know, I'm sort of personally fascinated by, which is you see people like Matthew Miller, who, State Department spokesperson, probably would describe himself as having very similar worldview as you do. Like I'm sure he sees himself as like a liberal internationalist. I'm sure he sees himself as believing in these laws that are on the US books that are supposed to prohibit transfer of weapons to human rights abusers and to countries that are blocking humanitarian aid, as Israel clearly is doing. And you see them get up there day after day and, ask us to defy what our own eyes and ears are seeing in front of us. Like, having been inside, what is how do you get to that place mentally where you're just willing to go out there and say things like, oh, we're waiting for Hamas to accept the deal and Israel's on board, when Israel is out here being like, no, we're not on board, that allows you to say, no, I didn't really see that report about Israel blocking aid, even though obviously you have, obviously you know what we're talking about. Or to say, oh, we're going to look into that, there's going to be an investigation, when there's never going to be an investigation, certainly not one that we ever hear the results of. Like, how do you end up there?
That's a good question. I thought the point about kind of the difference between the position that I was in as someone who came in later, I have an academic background, I was coming from the think tank sector, now I'm back in the think tank sector. That is very different from someone who spent their whole career inside government. This is their entire professional network. The prospect of trying to leave, especially to have left publicly where you've burned all those bridges and suddenly you're seen as a traitor by your colleagues with whom you've worked your whole career. I understand why for many people it is really challenging to think of resigning, and especially to do so publicly. When it comes to Matt Miller or others who are in this position of having to essentially lie, I shouldn't say essentially, to lie to reporters, to the public. We know he's lying because of statements from people like Hala Raret, who was the Arabic spokesperson who resigned over Gaza a matter of weeks ago. She would send these horrifying videos coming out of Gaza and send the clear evidence, photos and videos and clear statements that Israel is blocking U.S. humanitarian support. Therefore, they are no longer eligible to receive U.S. security assistance. That is the law. All of this stuff, she and many others are making sure is in the inboxes of all of these high-level officials every day. So, for someone in that position, it's perhaps gets to things like the banality of evil. Hannah Arendt talked about how it was that the Nazis were able to function, that it's people just doing their jobs, being told, these are your orders, and if you don't do them, you're out of a job, you lose your income, you lose your status. I think for many people inside state, there is very much this sense of status. There is this feeling that you are involved in something very important.
Right.
I've been in touch with colleagues who are opposed to what's happening, but they believe it's important that they continue to do what they're doing. Maybe they're not working on anything related to Israel-Palestine, but they feel that their own work is important. And I don't want to discount that, but I do think that everyone in this whole town, Washington is full of people who do this work because they want to make a difference. They believe in making a difference. And yet I do feel that I hope that everyone sometimes takes a step back and really asks themselves, like, what impact am I having? What is the impact of me continuing to go in and do my job every day, whether it's something really little or something really important? Are you really changing anything? Because it doesn't seem like much is changing. So all of these people who, got the degrees and put in the legwork and now have the position they were hoping for, or they're angling for the position, they feel like we'll let them finally make a difference. I just would challenge them to look in the mirror and question, what impact are you really having, other than to perpetuate the status quo, to perpetuate this system within which, the primary motivation for politicians is, the money from big donors, and big donors are actors like major, defense contractor, the big five defense, like the military industrial complex is such a huge driver of our foreign policy and our politics. So, and I get it, for kind of any individual person, how are they supposed to take that down? But I do think that if you're in a position to come out publicly against what's going on, and especially at a moment like this where we do have, history will judge those who were in positions to have made different choices and yet continue to make the same choice. And this is part of why I decided to go public, even though I, was not anyone in a position of particular power. But I did just want to be able to, look myself in the face. And I've spoken about this before, that I have a young daughter. And imagining that she one day will be studying this and will ask, what doing? Weren't you in government at this time? And if I had said, yeah, I was, but, there really wasn't much I could do. I would be lying. I think, I wanted to be able to tell her, I tried to do what I could.